Okay, so that would be it. Okay, hi and welcome. My name is STÖK and this is the top 5 tips how to get started in bug bounties. Obvious clickbait title, but hey, before we get into the top 5 tips on how to get started, I'm gonna tell my story and how I got started as a total bounty noob a few months ago and what I learned throughout the process. First, a disclaimer. Even though my background is in web app testing, I've been in IT and the security field for the last 20 years, but more on the architect side and infrastructure design, so learning curves may vary. So this is how the story begins. There I was, in this hotel room, after a couple of beers somewhere in India, primarily in the Goa region, for the Nullcon 2018 conference. I was there to vlog, not to hack, so I asked Jobert, who was hacking away at a target with Franz in Ted Kramer's room, how do you get started into all these web hacking things? And for the first time in my life, he showed me a 100 megabytes big chunk of a jar file that from that day on would change my life forever. This application was Burp, and I fell in love with it, and I've been using that tool more or less daily ever since. So there I'm sitting looking at all these tabs and he said pick one bug and then you start looking for it everywhere. So I looked up the OWASP top 10, checked out some other sites and decided there might just be an area for me to look for that. Since I can't code for shit, looking for XSS or static code analysis was definitely off my chart. So I chose race conditions. Found my first ever race condition and I was super nervous. I didn't know what a successful report looked like, but I had been told that POC or get the fuck out. In other words, you need to show how you exploited a bug in as easily reproducible steps as possible. So the triager that might just not be at the same level of your expertise in this certain area can follow the instructions and reproduce the bug. I can't express this enough. Explain how an attacker can use this against the organization. What's the real impact here? If you're reporting that a version of something, whatever, has this kind of known CVEs without any proof of exploitation, it will turn informative or even an A. But if you're able to show them how you exploit it, that's a totally different story. And that's super important in the beginning because you want to gain reps, and because reps get you invites. So I was nervous. Of course, this is my first report. So a good report with easy step-by-step and real-world attack scenarios is key. So what I did is that I recorded a video, of course, because that's usually what I do, with voiceover and everything, and color grading and soundtracks, and it was edited perfectly, more or less. And then I submitted that. I went to bed and I couldn't sleep that night. I didn't know it then, but what I had at that time is what my wife nowadays calls bug fever. I checked my phone every 2 hours, more or less, and finally it got triaged and I was beyond excited. I was so excited, but it took a few days for it to get fixed. And what I didn't know at that time it wasn't a VDP program and they only pay out reps. But I got my first bug in. I got 7 reps and I helped the company from a situation that could cost them thousands of dollars to be able to fix it. And that was so cool. I felt like $1 million. And I hacked one super hardened US company without the risk of getting caught or being thrown into jail. Man, I wanted more. And I really needed to level up my game. You know, I couldn't just stick with race conditions now. So I bought Pete's book, Webhacking 101, over at LeanPub. And I read it twice. And I didn't understand shit. So I decided that I maybe needed another point of reference. So I started to listen to Cody over at Hackerone 101. I started to search everywhere for every kind of information that I could find that could be easily digestible for me while I was doing other things. And I found that Jason Haddix had these amazing talks about methodology. I think it's up to version 3 or 4 now, and definitely the next one is going to be released on a upcoming Bugcrowd level up event in the future. I'm absolutely sure. But the thing is that in his first one that's out there, it's how to shut web from I think it's from DEF CON 23. He's talking about all these methodologies and recon and everything, and it's super important that you learn those skills. Somewhere around the 50-minute mark, you will find a very young gentleman on stage talking about the projects that the Bugcrowd labs were running at that time. That's Ben Hamsek, and man, that guy's a truly inspiration. If you get any chance to hang out with either him or Haddix, the things that those guys do for the community is amazing. So, for every free second that I had from that day on, I listened to talks. I listened to YouTube movies, vlogs, whatever I could find. If I was doing the dishes, I was listening to Hacker 101. If I was mowing the lawn, I was listening to something. I even went to the extent to try to find a Speak sanitizer and listen to Pete's book. That did not work out. You do not get code read out to you while mowing the lawn. That fucked me up. Do not recommend it. After a few months that I learned the tools of the trade and I started to experimenting with recon, content discovery, brute forcing for subdomains, folder admin panels and all that stuff. Shubs told me all about it, Nafi did it, and I'm like, okay, these guys are pro. I will not get to the level, but at least I need to know how it works. I really enjoyed this bounty ride, and for me to excel in it, I need to set aside and invest in myself. Now every Thursday, I do bounties. I learn things during the week, of course, but I got 8 hours every week that I crush it. I sit and I hack away as much as possible. I listen to music, I get inspired, and I have a really good time. What I definitely recommend for you is to find a program that you really like and stick with it. Spend some time at it and learn how it works. I've chosen a few programs with big enough scopes that will keep me busy for the next year or so, and I decided to stay loyal to those. You know, I'm learning about their development cycles, I'm learning how their infrastructure works, how it's all designed, and I'm learning as much as possible about their code base. And since I'm moving into API testing, this will be a great year, both for me and the programs that I'm going to hack at and stay with. But then of course there's hackers like Franz Rosen that can just get on any program and pawn everything, but hey, I'm not Franz. So what about the 5 tips on how to get started? So I asked the Twitter community, sent out a tweet and asked them for the top 3 best tips for hackers that want to get into the bug bounty scene. These are some of the comments that I got. Brett says that 1. Focus less on money and more on learning. A lot of hackers have plus 15 years already. You can ramp up fast, but there's a learning curve. Pick a program that you love and stick with it for a year. I popped a 15K RC on the site after a year of effort. It can take time. 3. Persistence is key. So I'm definitely agreeing with Brett here. Invest time in yourself and bugs will present itself. Some dev writes, learn how things work before you get into bug hunting so you don't have to ask random people why a payload isn't working. I agree with that, but I also disagree a bit. Of course, you need to learn some basics, but you don't need to be able to build a full puzzle to its end before you start playing around with puzzles. You kind of need to know the parts, and then it's all hard work. You have to do the work. The puzzle will not finish itself. Yober says that one vulnerability at a time. Yeah, he said that to me too. Set clear, measurable goals. Nice one. Create sandboxes, use CTFs to get used to how apps respond and train to get around the most common defenses. Do not rely on tools except for proxy. You can easily be a skid in 2019. Everything is pre-written for you. You can just run those and don't know what will happen. But if you send a lot of data into a system and it crashes, and or if you accidentally just drift out of scope, you're fucked. You need to know what you're doing. Casey says, have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Surround yourself with good and positive people and take the negativity inherent to cybersecurity with a grain of salt. Yeah, that's it. We have a great community, but it's also a bit salty, and currently it feels like it's get over it. The best hackers are the ones that know they don't know very much, and that's the truth. The true master never stops learning. So be humble, and to summarize all the rest of it, it's more like learn how to code, read more, and practice. But the thing is, you don't really need to learn how to code. It's good, but you don't have to. Mark Litchfield, met him a couple of times. He has almost 1 million now on Hackerone. He can't code, or he can code some, but he's really, really, really good at other stuff, and he's getting paid for it. And I can't code either. I suck at Python. I can dabble with Bash, but that's about it. But I can read code. I just can't write it. So what are the takeaways? If you're serious in getting into bug bounties, you want to have a chance to show your skills on some of the most hardened targets on the market, invest in yourself. Get yourself a paid Burr Pro license. Just don't Larry Lau that shit. And remember, there's no silver bullet. There's no easy fix to this. You are the one that has to do the work. Invest your time in yourself. Study the reports, study the write-up, study everything, but also give you time to rest, or you will easily get overwhelmed and burned out. And remember, karma's a bitch. If you gain something from the community, and if you learn something, give back, and the community will give back to you. So remember, we're just a bunch of hackers that love to hack and want to make a buck, so there's no need for the drama. So until we meet again, like this video, subscribe, share it, or do whatever you like. And yeah, links to everything and everything that I talked about are in the comments below. Until next time, take care. I love you. Have a good one.